And welcome back to our first Footy Classified Footy Forum. The first topic on the agenda tonight, Caro, is player welfare in isolation. Can they handle it without the structure? Are we too hard on them, too lenient? We've had a rough weekend for the players and we get a lens from all different sides of the industry tonight. Joining us, two senior coaches, Adam Simpson of the West Coast and also David Teague of Carlton. Welcome to you both. Tom Lynch of the Adelaide Crows, star player and, of course, player advocate for the AFLPA, and Andrew Pridham, one of the most respected chairmen in the business, Caro.
Adam, I'll start with you. Has this crisis exposed a lack of resilience in the young men of the AFL?
Oh, look, there's 700 players in the AFL, Caro, so...
well, you're dealing with them on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, so you know more than me.
I know. I think it's really difficult to categorise everyone. I think, obviously, there's some players with not much experience in the AFL system and in life, and there's some players with more than enough experience. And teaching our players resilience happens from day one, and hopefully they've learned a bit of that in their upbringing. But we get players in all different shapes and sizes, and over the journey, you hope you build good characters and good people, but it's too difficult to categorise everyone under what's happened in the last few days.
And you went through a different type of decision-making last year with the Willie Rioli situation during the finals, which was another example of a mistake. In situations like this, how tough is it to deal with and have empathy for the player versus having responsibility to your club and the community?
Yeah, it's a good question, Hutchie. I think you've got to have a balance between the two. And obviously, when you make a mistake, you need to acknowledge it. You need to deal with it. You are representing more than just yourself. So there's that, and also the care for the person that's made the mistake and how you can help them through a situation. And they're human; they're not robots. So finding that balance is really important. The message is important from football club level as well. So that's what Adelaide and the Doggies are working through now, and no doubt there'll be more issues in years to come. And unfortunately, that's just the way society is. We're not any different than most young men.
And David, as we welcome you in, certainly there's a perception in footy, I guess, that players lack structure, and if they don't have structure, that they lack the means to do the best they can in their personal lives. Is that a myth or is that a reality, do you think?
It's correct for some, I think. We've got quite a few guys that are probably thriving without the structure and a little bit more freedom to do what they like and to train when they want to train. So I think everyone's different. And as a coach and as a football club, that's your challenge of bringing everyone together of different personalities and characteristics. So we've definitely got a lot of guys that are actually thriving at the moment, but we've definitely got some that the AFL industry is very structured and very routine-based, and that can help certain individuals.
Tom, thanks for joining us. I've got to ask you about Tyson Stengel. What has the leadership group done to this point in dealing with Tyson and his issues?
Yeah, well, we're working through that, currently at the moment. And I know I heard you earlier speak about the timing and the details, obviously, of coming out. Now, first and foremost priority was Tyson, his welfare, and he was embarrassed. He was nervous and embarrassed, basically. So we wanted to make sure that he was our first priority and his welfare. Then we wanted to make sure dialogue was well known to all the playing group and all the staff at the club. So there was no hidden agendas or anything besides that, but it was just about making sure we got all the details and making sure we're able to get them to our fans.
I understand he's your priority, but the priority for the community is the danger he could have done. Are you embarrassed that it does, to the outside world, look a little sloppy, the time it took?
Yeah, well, in terms of the incident, it's obviously extremely disappointing. We, especially as players, we were disappointed in Tyson and, we'll challenge his behaviour, but support him as a person. It's the only thing really we can do. We'll make sure that in due course that we'll work through we've got the time, I suppose, to work through, what that punishment for him looks like. But, we'll support him in making sure that he doesn't, when he comes across those incidents again, he chooses the right path. So, that's our priority.
Last one on that, Tom. Kane Corn suggested tonight and today that Adelaide had failed its first test of being honest in the new regime. How do you respond to that? Oh,
that's disappointing. I mean, we just wanted to make sure we got all the details and make sure we went through our process of, supporting the person. We want to help others and prioritise the people within our footy club, make sure that they are well supported, but also are well understand what's, what it takes to be a member of the Crows team. So, we'll work through our time frame and as quick as we can get it to our members and our fans as quick as possible.
Andrew, I'd love you to jump in now as the Sydney Swans chairman and a member of the so-called Corona cabinet. You spoke to me last week and in fact invoked a World War I scenario in the Somme when you talked about players making sacrifices in terms of doing what they could for not only the industry but the people who love footy in the community.
Yeah, look, I think it's important that the public realise, and I know that speaking for the Swans players, they realise that there are many people in society, and World War I is, I guess, a fairly grandiose example, but there are many people in society today with COVID-19 affecting us that are doing things that they don't want to do, and they're having to work outside their normal comfort zone, and that's what everyone in the country and globally is having to do, and I don't think the players should be seen to be any different. It's their careers, they're professional athletes, and I think the attitude needs to be, play for pay.
Do you expect your players to play? Are you really strong that it's a must-play scenario?
I think it's a decision for every player, and there will be some players, I'm sure, but I think a very small number throughout the competition who, for whatever reason, are not comfortable with the arrangements that may be put in place. But speaking in terms of the Swans players, those that I've spoken to, certainly in our leadership group, they're raring to go. I mean, they just want to know when can we get back out there and start playing. So it's really up to the AFL in consultation with the CMO and the various state governments and federal governments to come up with a plan, and I think the players will be there.
And Adam, you're travelling is in your club's DNA. How far are you down the track of talking hubs and quarantine situations and envisaging scenarios where your players will be away from families potentially for a month or 6 weeks at a time?
Well, I've got to be honest, Cara, we haven't discussed it at all. We're probably in the phase now. We've got our remote programs sorted. We're waiting on government direction and in turn AFL direction. And until we get that, I think it's really difficult to. There's been a lot of different scenarios thrown around, but we're really concentrating on just getting our players engaged and fit. Try and get them motivated. This probably the next month or so. I would have thought our boys are getting a little bit bored and demotivated. So trying to find ways to get them engaged, and we'll find out in due course what the plan will be. We haven't been asked to give any assistance in that just yet, but it's probably coming in the next few weeks.
And two quick ones to finish with. Firstly, to you, David, the news that Charlie Curnow unlikely to play, even if there is a full season. How worried are you about him being an injured player in the situation on top of the abnormal circumstances of COVID-19 anyway?
Oh, look, our care for Charlie is regardless of the situation. We care about him greatly. A lot of our injured guys have probably had an extra bit of bounce in their step because they're thinking they're missing less games. And he was one of those that was, they were training really well. Their programs were going really well. So it's disappointing, but we're looking at the bigger picture, and obviously we care greatly for Charlie, and that's our priority.
And just to finish with Tom, you're one of the most respected players in the competition, influential voice at the PA. For all the players at home watching tonight who are struggling or grappling with the lack of routine, what advice would you give them?
Oh, just to hang in there, I suppose. I think the players are, just waiting for instructions similar to what Adam said before from our clubs and from the AFL. And, the guys, I'm sure, at all clubs are training really hard. They all have programs, but it's very similar to the off-season when we get our training programs. But obviously, we had a little bit of a taste of playing. So I'm sure, no doubt, that the guys will go on a bit of a roller coaster, but just to endure it and get yourself ready. But the noise seems to be heading in the direction that footy mightn't be too far away.
Adam, Tom, Andrew and David, thanks so much for joining our first Footy Classified Footy Forum. We appreciate your time in ISO and we wish you luck on the road back to footy.